Ever since the fix of pillage vitality for warlocks, tricksters have now dropped from being the second worst class in game to the worst class in game, which is pretty sad because as you're about to see in this video, trickster is probably one of the funnest PvP classes in game. While it is hard, it's still an amazing class at the end of the day. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the build. Now, for skills, as usual, we're going to have double slash, and as usual, we're going to have magic missile. You always are going to want max magic missile for every single class in PvP, and for mages you won't use it, but for literally every class you want maxed out magic missile because it's such a good move. Rock throw and regeneration, you can do whatever you want. They both aren't that good, and they both rarely do enough to do good. But I would suggest maybe getting regeneration to put your final points into. For hunter skills, I like to go double jump, execute, and shun poem because barrage breaks a lot. But then again, if you're also comfortable with it breaking sometimes, then you can also put some into barrage as well. But you always are going to want double jump and max shun poem no matter your build. For trickster abilities, so there's two things you can do. So you have to have prison trap maxed out. If you don't have prison trap maxed out, then you aren't a trickster. Second of all, you're gonna want either 7 points in disengage and 3 into switch strike, or you're gonna want 10 points into switch strike and 1 into disengage. Well, no, you can't even have 1 in disengage. So honestly, if you want maxed out a switch strike, the only thing it does, it makes it go faster, but that's such a good thing when it moves faster because it's easier to hit. However, disengage is also is a really good move in PvP. So honestly, I would say, we have a skill reset. Oh, that's a stat reset. I would say put 10 into prison trap, 3 into switch strike, and 7 into disengage. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now for the stat build, there's multiple different stat builds you can do. So as usual, you're always going to want a minimum of 10 dex into your build because that gives you the extra movement speed and stamina. What you do from here on out is kind of up to you, but there's some basic builds that you have to keep in mind when playing Trickster. So I somehow managed to stretch a section about stat points into a 5-minute long monologue. But to sum it up quickly, as Trickster you're going to want to hit certain benchmarks, and gear is very important in your build. So you want to hit certain benchmarks so you can get the perks as well as the stats. So my suggestion for Trickster is to first of all get a minimum of a good amount of dex. So I would say either go for 20 to get the double arrow or go for 50, which including your gear points should get you to 50. For your strength, you should get 50 strength and fierce equipment with a fierce incisor and a fierce sand ravaged bow, which are probably the two best items for a trickster because of the crit chance and the high damage. You should be able to get to 86 strength with 50 base strength as from your stat point dividing. Now you can just put 4 extra points from dex, or you can put 52 strength and put 1 ancient strength on it, and you would reach 90 strength, which is a really nice benchmark to hit. And for intelligence, I would say to go around 70 base intelligence. So get 70 base intelligence, 52 base intelligence, fierce incisor, hobo armor, and sand ravaged bow, and that's pretty much it. As a trickster, there are 3 rules you have to follow. The first rule is do not disengage spam. That is a sin. of being a trickster. You are not allowed to disengage spam at all. Next, this is just a rule for hunters in general. Don't shark post spam. It's really annoying, but like you can use it like once in a while, but don't just like go, oh, run for 10 seconds, then come back. Oh, and suddenly shark post ready again. Hit them with a massive hitbox again. That's kind of like a jerk move, but then again, just don't do it. Another thing you're not supposed to do is well, you can't have less than 10 points into trap. Having less than 10 points in trap is not allowed here. Now, and finally, you can only use disengage for movement. So what that means is disengage, what its ability is that it makes you leap backwards while shooting nearby targets. This gives it aimbot, so it's almost a no skill move. That's why you're not allowed to spam it. But it's also a really good mobility move when it's like level 7, which you probably should have. I just was using level 1 for testing purposes. Now, and that's pretty much all the rules for Trickster. Now, but other than that, everything is fair game. So, about these other abilities, so Switch Strike is a move that you're almost never going to hit, but it does a good amount of damage, and you switch places with your opponent. That part doesn't really matter that much. It's just a projectile that does damage. That's all you should care about that move. Your main move as Trickster is going to be Trap. And why Trap is good is because once someone gets hit by it, they're going to get stuck in the trap, and then they're an easy kill. However, once they're in the trap, they can still attack. They can't use their bow if they're a hunter, but they can still attack, which is kind of stupid, but they can still attack for some reason. Now, which means that if you're fighting a warrior, you're not going to want to use your bow, because most warriors, when you're fighting them, have parry, which means that any arrows that you shoot at them will be reflected back at you, and you will die. So instead, what you want to do is you want to utilize your intelligence, the 70 intelligence you have, and you want to use magic missile to hit them from a distance. Even if you see they're so high up in the sky, you still want to stay back, because ground slam has a huge radius, and sometimes it can be wonky and hit you. So you want to stay back, use magic missile, and if they're a mage or a hunter, just fair game. Just shoot them with your bow. And yeah, so now I'll be like showing some clips demonstrating these different techniques that me and Kitt, we were like doing some duels with tricksters. So I'm gonna put some clips in now of us dueling, and which will show these different things.